Hello, I'm Andrew and I'm your marine biologist, activist in residence. And I have a few questions here that I was sent. So these questions are from class 4. First question is, can coral reefs help humans and help the earth? So coral reefs are really important for humans and for all of us because with a healthy coral reef, then there's lots of fish and lots of marine animals that live on a healthy reef versus an unhealthy reef wouldn't have very many fish and other animals living on it. So if there's a lot of fish living on the reef, that means it can support fisheries. So if people are eating fish, then the fish that they're eating is coming from the ocean, and in order for there to be enough fish for people to eat, then it has to come from healthy ecosystems like healthy coral reefs. So it's really important that we keep coral reefs and the ocean healthy so that it can support lots and lots of fish population for us to provide humans with food. So coral reefs are very helpful and very important for humans in terms of food source for fish. The other importance coral reefs have is for protecting shorelines, because from big maybe cyclones or typhoons or big storms or big waves that come into shore, when there's a healthy coral reef or a structure that's offshore like that, then it helps reduce the amount of wave energy and erosion that takes place against the shoreline. So having a coral reef is really important for protecting beach areas and shoreline areas. The next question is, how do coral reefs die? So there's quite a few different impacts that take place on coral reefs, and so impacts are things that make the health of an environment go down. So an impact would be something like pollution going into the ocean. So when you see polluted ocean water, maybe it's from runoff from harbors or from boats spilling oils, or maybe from plastics that have ended up from shore going into the ocean. All of these pollution in the water creates low water quality, so it's not a healthy environment for corals to live in. And so when the water is quite polluted rather, then the coral doesn't grow very well and will start to die. Other reasons that corals can die are also from breakage. So when maybe a boat drops its anchor overboard and it drags along a reef, it can break lots of pieces of the coral, and those broken pieces can then just roll around and start kind of landslides, and not really they won't grow anymore because they've been broken and they're dead. So these broken areas of reef are often caused by boats and other forms of damage like that. And the last reason why some coral reefs are dying is because of warmer ocean temperatures. So that is from global warming, so warming of the earth, which then causes the ocean to warm as well. And when the ocean temperature warms up, then the coral becomes quite stressed out if the water is too cold or too warm, and then the coral will start to die as well. Next question. How many years are in a coral's life? This is a good question. So, coral is an animal. However, an individual coral polyp is very, very small. Sometimes you have to use a magnifying glass to see it. But coral lives in a colony, so all of the polyps are connected together with tissue, and they live in a big colony together. So one individual coral animal, the one individual polyp, will maybe only live to be a couple years old. They don't actually live very long, coral polyps. However, the colony together, so the connected polyps all together, can live to be 4,000 years old. So some species live to be very, very old. The next question is, how does coral grow on the restoration structures? In our coral restoration project, what we do is, first of all, in areas of coral reef or areas of dead coral reef, we need to add some structures in place because we can't transplant coral directly into rubble dead areas because otherwise they'll just roll around in the currents. So we need to, first of all, put in some structure that allows the coral something to attach onto and grow. So we do that by putting in metal frames that are just a little bit above the rubble areas, and as well as I connect ropes between these metal frames. So the way the coral grows is we attach the coral, so small pieces of coral we attach with cable ties to the frames, and then when the coral is attached to the frame, then it'll start slowly growing over top of the frame and creating kind of like a root system that a tree would have, and then it starts branching out from there. So it'll start branching across the frame and up and outwards. So that's how we attach them to the frames. And then when the coral is growing on the ropes between the frames, what I do is I tie a piece of rope between two frames just slightly off the ground, and then I untwist the rope and put a small fragment of coral in there, and then the rope just holds the coral in place, and then over time the coral grows bigger and bigger, and then eventually it grows across the area of dead reef, and the reef becomes healthy and living. The next question is, what is your favorite turtle? So this one's a difficult one to answer because I really like all sea turtles. I have yet to see a leatherback turtle, so I'd really like to see a leatherback turtle one day, but I haven't seen one yet, so I can't say that that's my favorite. What I would have to say is my favorite is the hawksbill turtle, because there's one particular hawksbill turtle that I've become friends with, that it lives right at our coral restoration site. So as I'm working sometimes at the restoration site, the turtle will swim right up beside me and have a look at what I'm doing, and sometimes nibble on the pieces of coral that I'm transplanting. For the last few years, I've been swimming a lot beside this particular turtle, and so I would have to say that turtle is my favorite, and it's a hawksbill turtle.